Well, you know the rest of the story. What was happening was I was hearing information that I responded to emotionally. That was awesome. I had a car. But my car was useless. It sat there in the parking lot until I could remember the use for it. I had to find my keys. I had to find the reason why I had to go somewhere. I had to remember not only that I had a car, not just respond to the information that I had a car, but know that I could use that car to do some things. The information came in, but it never took root in my mind. I could never process it all the way through. Several weeks later, I did come back to somewhat normal. Now, some people come to church week after week, and they enjoy the church circumstances. They enjoy the experience. They enjoy sitting there, listening to a message, and it's pleasing. It's good news. We all like good news. And we sit and listen to it. But our cars are still parked in the parking lot. We never use the information. It never takes root in our being, in our mind, to change us, to make us any different than the way we were before. We enjoy seeing each other. I see smiles every Sunday morning. But that doesn't necessarily change our life. We've got to have the information take root. Now, if we hear only with the heart, the ancients, when we talk about the seat of emotion, we talk about our heart. The ancients used to say, you feel it in your bowels. I don't think I need to say that. But we use the same, what's your gut reaction? After you hear some news or hear a message, what's your gut reaction? And we can give a response at that point. Well, I liked it, or I didn't like it, or this was kind of weird, or it made me feel this way. But then after that, it never goes and takes root in our mind or in our life. If you enjoy the good news, let it go further than that. Think about it after you get out of the setting where you hear it. Let it go into your being. Let it begin to motivate you. Let's look at Romans 12:2. If you can get it to your mind, out of your emotions, it can begin to change your life. He says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world. Don't stay on the path that you're on. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. If we can transform our mind, our lives begin to be transformed. Third, there are some people who do hear the message and they begin to think about it. But something happens and it doesn't get to the will. It doesn't get to the motivational part of the person. Some people hear the message, they understand it, they receive it with joy, but the pursuit of success and pleasure make it worthless. Always wanted to be a jukebox hero. How many remember that song? A jukebox hero, he got stars in his eyes. Okay, maybe you didn't hear that, but these guys are smiling. They do it on. Isn't that on one of your Guitar Hero? Is it one of the songs in Guitar Hero? Okay, all right. Some of them are nodding. All right. You can't say that in church. Anyway, I dreamed of playing in a rock band and all over the country and being a star and playing little guitar riffs and everything. But I discovered after I got my guitar that practice wasn't really a priority for me. A lot of times the other kids were playing football or basketball or doing something fun. There was Boy Scouts and there was swim team and there were girls. There were lots of things that somehow began to take my mind and my motivations away from Jukebox Hero. Now, I still like the idea of being a jukebox hero. It would have been kind of cool to have everybody watch you up there playing the guitar and being really cool and traveling around the country and doing all those things that I thought would be really neat. but not enough to make me stop and make room for practice, for trying, for finding a guitar instructor that could teach me those kind of things. You know, a message can be received intellectually and emotionally, but still never penetrate into the will or the soul. You can hear it, but it never motivates you to do anything about it. There's a hard part in your soul that never, these other things can't penetrate. You know, we've got to figure out what's most important. And Jesus talks about, in another kingdom principle a little bit later in this chapter, he says, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who is a dealer in search of fine and precious pearls, who on finding a single pearl of great price went and sold all he had and bought it. If you're hearing a message from the Word of God, you need to sell out to that message. You need to, all those other things that you think are most important in your life, those things that you think are, you don't have room to put anything else in your life, you've got to push out the less important and let in the greatest or most important thing. All of our lives, we search out pearls of wisdom. We have thoughts that people give us. But God's pearls of wisdom are of the greatest value. And the greater value must push out the lesser value. John Lemons reminded us last Sunday night, excellent message, by the way. If it's on DVD, you'll want to pick that up. A rich young synagogue ruler, he was unwilling to give up earthly treasures to follow Jesus. Jesus knew the things that were more important to him than the Word of God, than the message that Jesus was giving him. He thought he had kept all the commandments. He had checked off all the check marks, but there was one thing in his soul, the thing that motivated him more than Jesus Christ, and it was his worldly treasures. Finally, Jesus says, there's some people who hear it and get it and do something about it. Some people hear the message, understand it, receive it, and it becomes a part of them. They make a difference. Not the message. The message changes them, but then they make a difference in the world, which is what Jesus is after. Let's go back to water skiing. After that first experience, I got over it finally and decided that I liked water skiing. Well, I did eventually get up on 2 skis. And I decided I liked it enough that I would try 1 ski. So I began to slalom. I began to figure out how to ski on 1. Then I figured out how to ski on none. I kicked off a ski and skied barefoot. And then I learned to trick ski. I'd ski frontwards and backwards and sideways and in circles. Then I tried jumping. I would go over the jump. Not well, but I'd go over the jump. And then I would try letting people climb on me while I skied. I enjoyed it. I thought about it a lot. I read water ski magazines. Said, I want to try this. I hung around other water skiers. I even liked it so much that I began to teach it at a day camp. So I skied every day and taught little kids how to ski. When you hear a message from God, you begin to test it out. You begin to say, how can I live this out? How can I do more? How can I go from 2 skis to 1 ski to barefoot? How can I learn to do this backwards and frontwards and around in circles? How can I let people climb on me? How can I teach this to someone else? Paul said, many of you by now ought to be teaching, but you've just been sitting there listening. I've been giving you the seed. I've been throwing seed all over you. I've been giving you the message, but you've never let it go in. You've never thought about it longer than when you were just sitting there. You never let it take root in your will. You never let it motivate you to do great things for God and change not only yourself, but the generation around you. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Kevin, I saw you dancing under the pew. Your mama joined you, I think.